Hey, what's going on, beautiful people? It's Keyshawn Scott, and I'm back with another YouTube video. This video is going to be dope, amazing. We're going to be talking about unrealistic expectations in relationships. Beautiful topic. Before we dive in, don't forget to like and subscribe. And anywhere throughout this video, if you want to comment or ask a question, please comment below in the comment box. But what I need you to do is I need you to like, subscribe, and share this video with as many people as you can. If it resonates to you, or if you feel as if this message is for one of your friends, your family members, a coworker, whoever it is, share this video. All right, so let's jump into the video. So we're going to talk about 3 tips for stopping unrealistic expectations in relationships. We all have these unrealistic expectations in relationships. So we're going to dive into it, right? Number 1, self-awareness, right? You have to practice self-awareness. Right, I need you to write that down. That's number 1, self-awareness, right? You have to know your likes, your desires, your values, your dislikes, right? All these things that make you you. A lot of people, they want to get into relationships. They want to be in marriages. They want love, right? But they never really sat down with themselves and really went through, what do I really value, right? What's my substance? What do I want to bring to the table? Who am I? It's funny because a lot of people are in relationships now and still don't know who they are. They're in marriages and still don't know who they are. They have families, kids, and they still don't know who they are. Best practice is really knowing who you are before you jump into a relationship. Knowing who you are before you set these high, unrealistic expectations on the relationship or on your partner, right? Or on yourself. And it's not good mentally. Right, so really find out your values, right? Your needs, your goals, what you want out of a relationship. What are you willing to give? What do you want to receive in that relationship? So your expectations aren't unrealistic and it's rooted actually in truth and not in past experiences. And you really have to get a head start on that, right? Writing it down, journaling, right? Some of the things that you can do is journaling. Right, writing things down, understanding who you are, and also understanding the mistakes you made in your past relationship and previous relationships. A lot of people don't do that. A lot of people, you get out of a relationship and you start talking about what your ex did, what your partner did wrong, right? What they did or didn't do, how you want to be loved, and how you want the next person to treat you. But when you get out of a relationship, you should really do some self-inventory, some self-assessment, and say to yourself, what did I do wrong? What can I change, right? What do I want to bring to the table next time? How do I want to show up for myself in this new relationship, right? And that goes with self-awareness, self-assessment, self-inventory, and understanding who you are. I don't want you to go into another relationship not knowing who you are, not knowing what you bring into the table, and not knowing what you want to receive out of it too. Right? So number 1 is definitely self-awareness. All right, you want to prioritize that. Number two, communicate openly, right? We all know that relationships thrive on communication, right? Having healthy communication. But we also know that communication is more, nonverbal than it is verbal, right? So when you're talking to your partner, or when you're having a conversation, or you're speaking, or you're communicating, make sure that you're listening, not to say something back, right? Or to respond, but you're listening to take action, right? Like you really want to genuinely understand, hey, communicate to me. I want to listen. I want to understand you. I want to get to know you. And this goes back to self-assessment, right? Knowing your own needs, right? You want your own needs met, right? And so you really want to get to that point where you are valuing your partner's clear communication and opinions and who they are and what they bring to the table. And communication is so important because you want to be heard and you want your partner to be heard as well. So you have to understand, you have to ask your partner, what is their communication style? A lot of people don't ask those questions, right? What is your communication style? How do you best receive communication? How do you want me to communicate to you, right? How can I communicate to you? Do you like text messages? Do you like phone calls, right? Should I write you a letter, right? Should I put a piece of letter on a pigeon and send it to you, or whatever it may be? But we have to get to that point where we're really asking questions on how do you best communicate? How can we speak, right? And some tips for that is regular check-ins. right? If you want to speak to your partner, talk to your partner, understand who they are, have that clear communication, that channel of communication, have regular check-ins, right? Say, hey, I'm checking in with you right now. Everything is good. Any plans for the week? Anything that I need to know, right? Do you need to know something? You have to have that open line and that safe space to communicate openly and not being afraid to share your feelings, because communication is also sharing your feelings, right? And not withholding anything, and feeling safe in your partner's presence to communicate what's wrong, right? Because a lot of people in relationships, we walk around with this chip on our shoulders, right? Guilty. We walk around with you don't want to communicate because you kind of anticipate what your partner might say before they even say it, right? Is there anybody like that where you already, you know what, I'm not even going to talk to them about that because I already know what they're going to say, so I might as well keep it to myself. But that's unhealthy. We got to get to that point where we're communicating openly and honestly with our partner, or the relationship is not going to grow. We have to learn how to talk. We have to learn how to express ourselves, express our feelings, our likes, our wants, our dislikes, what bother us, what doesn't bother us. And that's how you grow and you really create an atmosphere and a connection of real, lasting, healthy love. And while it also fosters this healthy love, right, it's good for understanding, right? Relationships, it's about understanding your partner. Don't think that when you get married, it's a destination. Don't think that you'll always, I know you. Your partner is consistently growing. That's when you communicate openly, you're always going to get some kind of different communication skills, because we're not going to stay the same. So that's why regular check-ins, understanding your partner, fostering a space of clear communication, honest communication is best for both of you guys, right? And yeah, just learn how to really ask questions. Ask questions, because what you don't know will really hurt the relationship or hurt your foundation. So you have to get to that point where you're asking clear, concise, and deep questions, right? Babe, how are you feeling, right? Babe, I'm not doing too well. Can I speak to you about something? But also, when you have these conversations and you do communicate, never leave a conversation just like that. Always aim for an end goal or end result, right? And always piggyback, on it at a later date as well, to kind of follow like feedback, right? Like, hey, I made some changes. How am I doing? Right? How am I doing? And it's okay to ask questions, right? I don't think we should ever be afraid to ask questions or have these conversations, these tough conversations with people that we love and we want to build a future with. I don't think we should ever be afraid to express ourselves. If you're ever in a relationship where you're afraid to express yourself or talk about certain things or express your needs, your wants, your dislike, what bothers you, then that's an unhealthy environment, and you have to communicate again on why that bothers you and if you're going to continue that relationship. All right, so communicate openly is number 2. Number 3, focus on the present and accept your partner as they are, right? A lot of times we jump into relationships and we have these high expectations on what our partner could be, so we try to change and mold them into that person, right? Because I see you as this and I want to mold you and change you into this, right? But what that tells your partner is like, you don't like who they are and you want to change them for what you see, right? And that's not okay. That, number one, that is manipulation at its finest, right? Because when you love someone, when you care about someone, you want to love them as they are. You don't want to change them. You don't want to mold them. If that's your case, then that person's not right for you, and you have to let them go, and you have to let yourself go, right? So you have to get to a point where you're focusing on the present. Of course, we can all change. We have room for improvement, right? We can do things a little bit differently. But when you're in a relationship and someone is kind of forcing you to change, molding you to fit their ideal partner, right, of what they want, what they see, that's unhealthy and that's very toxic, right? Because what they want is what they want out of it. It's not about your feelings. It's not about who you are. It's always about what they want out of it. So you really have to focus on the present. Focus on your partner as they are. And that's where communication and self-assessment comes into place, right? 1 and 2. Because if you and your partner even do self-assessments together, then you can see, hey, how we can grow. How can we help each other? What are our values, right? What are our needs? How can I improve, right? Because relationship is all about growth. helping each other grow, building one another, motivating each other, inspiring each other, right? And if you know that you have to grow, or that's an area where you need to change in, how can I support that? Not how can I change you, but how can I support that? And I think that should be the number one thing, right? Focusing on the present, understanding how can I support my partner instead of having these unrealistic expectations, right, on them. Like, hey, I expect this out of you. And if you're not going to do it, I'm going to force it out of you. I'm going to mold it out of you. I'm going to change it out of you. Like, that sounds insane, right? That sounds so insane that you really want to force change on your partner just so you can love them. If you don't love them as they are, why force change to mold them and change them into what you see fit just so you can love them more? If anyone in your life is trying to change you, they don't love you. All right. If anyone's in enough, and I'm not saying that people don't need change, because people do need change, but it's a way that you do it. Like I said, you have to support them in that change, but they have to see a problem with their behavior or their actions or whatever it is. I'm not talking about changing things for materialistic ways or, little petty things. And also to add on that, you got to get to that point where you're actually doing work, right? I'm big on doing work with your partner. If you guys want to grow together, you have to start doing journaling together, mindfulness, take walks. And it goes back to communication, asking questions, talking, having these dialogues, understanding each other, right? There's so much love to give and get when you have healthy communication with your partner, right? When you have these good talks, when you understand them, right? When you do the self-assessment, because then you can keep each other accountable when you do these self-assessments. And also when you have these open communication styles with them, right? You have these open communication, you're doing these weekly check-ins or whatever check-ins you're doing, and you're actually not forcing anything on them, but welcoming them into your space and into where you want to go, right? And it's a beauty when people can work together and they can connect and they can love each other unapologetically, right? And they're not ashamed of who they are. And I strongly believe that when you know who you are, you can kind of identify when people are trying to change you, and when a relationship is not for you, right? That's why it goes back to, number one, right? The self-assessment, right? The prioritizing, yourself. When you know who you are, and you're owning your feelings, you know your wants, you know where you want to go. You kind of lay the foundation of like self-respect, boundaries, never settling, right? Because you can identify what's for you and what's not for you. But when you don't know who you are, you start accepting everything around you, and you don't know what is what, and you're going to fall for the wrong person a dozen times until you really understand who you are, where you are, and where you want to go. Thank you guys for checking out this YouTube video. I appreciate you. I love you. Don't forget, share this video, like, subscribe right now. Subscribe, right? Subscribe, like, and comment your best parts, or comment what you like most about the video, or even comment what are some of the unrealistic expectations that you may have had or your partner may have had in your relationship. All right? I love you. Peace.